just going to continue adding on. So once he gets to the end of that spool, he attaches it to a new spool. Yep, and then he keeps going. Well, by the time he called the show in 1997, he said that he had reached about 80,000 feet of line.
Jeez.
And still had not gotten to the bottom. 80,000 feet. That's over 24 kilometers. That's over 15 miles. The Mariana Trench is only 7 miles.
God.
And this is 15 miles of line he says he's lowered down in there. The Empire State Building is 1,454 feet. So it's 50 Empire State Buildings stacked on each other. That's how far down he's saying this line is going.
There's like some creatures on inner Earth looking up.
I
and
know.
They're seeing this line come out of the sky.
They keep throwing dead cows down here. So as a side note, the deepest hole that humans have ever dug was 7.5 miles deep. It was a Russian project called the Koala Super Deep Borehole.
Very creative.
Yeah, they did not work hard on that name. And they wanted to reach 9 miles, but after 20 years of digging, that's how long it took to get that 7.5 miles deep. Well, after getting that far, their equipment started malfunctioning due to the heat.
Because it was so hot.
They said that it was around 180 degrees Celsius or 356 degrees Fahrenheit, which was almost twice as hot as they thought it would be.
Wow.
So their drills stopped working. Everything started getting malleable. They could not continue.
Wow.
So 7.5 miles is as far as they could go. And the Earth's crust is only about 37 miles in before you get to the upper mantle.
Right.
So he's saying that he's almost halfway through the Earth's crust.
That's crazy.
I know, and it's not burning up his line. It's not melting his fishing line.
It's because he found a hole to the inner Earth.
I get it, but I'm just saying. You would think. Well, on the radio show, he's basically asking Art and any callers, what do I do? How do I,
What's the next step?
yeah, how do I figure out how deep this is? Do I just keep going? Is this working? And of course, everybody's like, lower someone down there. And he's like, well, who the hell is going to volunteer to be lowered into this hole?
Right.
But that was really it. That was really the only kind of sage advice that these callers had. Again, a lot of them were assholes. But in 2002, he comes back on Coast to Coast because Art wants to catch up with Mel. Well, this time Mel has a lot to say.
Okay.
He said that shortly after his conversation with Art Bell in 97, he had come back to his land, like back home one day,
Right.
to find that it was all basically roped off.
Really?
Yes, and there were a bunch of federal agents there.
Ah.
They said that a plane had gone down, because this is like a lot of land. It's not like he has a regular house and a yard. He has fields and acres.
Gotcha.
So they said that a plane had gone down in one of the fields and that it wasn't safe for him to return home. Well, when they finally let him back in, he noticed that there was a lot of tire marks up to the hole, and there was disturbed land, dirt and everything, like they were investigating the hole.
There's no plane crash.
Right. Well, then shortly after, he was approached by 2 men that claimed to be federal government agents, and they said that they wanted to buy his property for the state of Washington.
Okay.
They wouldn't give him a reason why, and he was pretty adamant that he didn't want to sell it. That he had just really kind of he moved into this land.
Right.
Well, they told him it'd be real easy to find a drug lab on your property, so we suggest that you sell it. They said that they would give him $250,000 a month.
Whoa.
They would basically rent his land from him.
Okay.
If he agreed to move out of the country and keep his fucking mouth shut. So he did. He moved. He didn't keep his fucking mouth shut because here he is back on Coast to Coast. But he and his wife moved to Australia right after that. Then he calls back again that same year. He ends up being on Coast to Coast 5 different times.
Well, he's got a great story.
Yeah, well, and shit keeps happening to him. But I don't know why he just doesn't shut up about it. Why does he keep calling a national radio show to talk about it? Well, he calls back again, and he said that he had just recently had to come back to the United States, back to Washington, for a family matter. And whenever he got here, he was taking a bus back to whatever town, Ellensburg, I think. And The next thing he knew, he was in an alley in San Francisco.
Uh-oh.
So he thinks that he was maybe...
drugged.
Something. When he woke up in that alley in San Francisco, it was 12 days later. He had been beaten. Some of his teeth were missing.
Oh, my God.
He had holes in his arms, like it looked like he had been hooked up to an IV, he said.
Oh.
He was also missing a large sum of money from his bank account that they were transferring the $250K a month into.
Uh-huh.
And he was missing a belt buckle that he had made.
That sucks.
Yeah. Well, it was a belt buckle that had a coin in it that he had found near the hole.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And he had used the coin as like a centerpiece for this homemade belt buckle.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about this coin, now I'm not going to remember the specifics, but the metal in it was never, it was like a dime. Mm-hmm. The metal in it was never used for dimes. They had talked about like using it for dimes way back when, but they decided against it. So it was like a one-of-a-kind
weird
coin that that's why he used it, because he thought it was cool.
Oh, okay.
Well, they had stolen this belt buckle from him.
Just to spite him. That sucks.
Well, some people on Reddit theorize that this hole is to another dimension or a multiverse, and that coin could have been in a different multiverse.
An alternate.
Yeah, they did decide to use that metal.
Uh-huh.
And he had just gotten one from that multiverse.
Because someone on that universe is throwing shit into that hole, and it's coming out the other
They're
side. They're
using it to make wishes and throwing coins and shit down. Our dumbass side's throwing dead cows and dogs down and trash. He also said since his last appearance on the show that several people from different parts of the world had reached out to him saying that they also knew where holes just like his were.
Really?
In different parts of the world.
They're all over.
There's supposedly one in Nevada. I think there's one in India. I don't really know. But
it goes to Inner Earth. I talked about this.
I know, but I don't know that I believe in Inner Earth. In 2008, a man named Gerald R. Osborne, he is a intertribal medicine man that went by Red Elk. He told reporters that he had been to the hole dozens of times, starting in like the 60s when he was a kid, because people in his tribe saw it for like ritual reasons. Sure. They would go to this hole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that he was like, it's 100% a thing. I can take you guys all there. Well, when he tried to, there were helicopters hovering around the area and they were stopped. Mm-hmm. And he also was like, this is not where I thought it was. Like, the landscape had changed.
Weird.
In fact, nobody really knows where this hole is. Mel Waters has kind of kept a tight lip on where...
Exactly.
Yeah, like where the coordinates were for his previous home, like the land he owned. Uh-huh. And people in that area don't talk about it. They won't tell you exactly where it is. Back before Google Earth, they used this database called Terra Server. And that was kind of like... the satellite images, it was Google Earth before it was Google Earth.
Right.
Well, if you pull that up, they stopped using that in 97, and the picture of Mel's land from 97 is just a big white block.
Really?
Yeah, like it has been completely blocked out. So nobody really knows. Now, on Reddit, there are a shit ton of people who think they know exactly where this hole is.
Oh, I'm sure.
And if you put in the coordinates to a lot of them, some of it is blurry on Google Earth for no reason. I did it myself. Some of it is blurry.
That's weird.
It's super weird. And not only that, but I like the pictures of Mel near the entrance of this hole. Like I said, it's kind of like barren wasteland all around it. Well, when you pull up the area that it's supposedly in... there are fucking trees everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. And that's why I think that guy said that the landscape changed. I don't know if if this is all real. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like the government went in and tried to jazz everything up so it doesn't look like locals don't recognize the area anymore. So there's a geologist that grew up in that area and believed that Mel was actually talking about an old abandoned gold mine. Like, he was pretty certain that that's what he was talking about. And the gold mine only went 300 feet deep, but it is deep enough that it kind of looks like it goes on forever. Yeah. You cannot lower anything in it to see, a flashlight disappears, that kind of thing. People are going to this town, like, to this day,
trying to find Mel's hole.
Yes, everybody. It's kind of like a buried treasure type thing. So when he led people there to show, like, hey, look, this is what he was talking about, it looks nothing like the pictures that Mel took of him in the opening to this. It's literally like an abandoned, what you would think an abandoned gold mine would look like.
Yeah.
This looks like a damn hole in the earth. Mel's hole is just seriously a big hole in the ground. Another crazy thing is that there is absolutely no public record of Mel Waters owning property or even living in that town. It's like he's been erased.
If he even existed.
Maybe. Some people are trying to say it's just some asshole that called in to some show to stir some shit up. But other people are like, hell no, I live in that town. I threw trash down that hole my entire fucking life.
Yeah, that's true. You got other people claiming that.
Yeah, I know exactly about it. Like, it's a weird hole, man. Everybody in the town knows about it. And then other people are like, he didn't even live in that town. And people are saying, or that's what the government wants you to think. So they erased him even living there. Another thing that kind of discredits Mel a little bit.
Okay.
is that there were these stories that started coming out that Mel said that he, like, lowered a sheep down into it, like an alive sheep. And when he pulled it back up, it looked like it had been cooked from the inside out. And he noticed something wiggling around inside it, so he cut it open, and he found something that looked like a fetal seal, but with human eyes.
Okay.
So he shoved it back into the hole.
Okay.
That's too much. People might buy the whole, but now you're talking about, like, aliens impregnating a sheep.
Yeah.
Like, this is too much. So that kind of knocks it down a peg. I couldn't find where he said that, but I guess maybe he either said it on another radio show or maybe he was quoted in something.
Yeah.
And really, whenever you listen to him, like, again, I only could hear a snippet from the first time he was on Coast to Coast. He sounds like a totally normal, put-together guy. I mean, I know there's no sounding normal, quote-unquote, but he doesn't sound manic. He doesn't sound like he's a one-upper, like the second he tells you something, he's like, you think that's cool? Well, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he just sounds like a guy that's like, what the fuck is this hole? Can somebody help me figure this out? Yeah, so there's all these theories on what people think the hole is. Inner Earth is one of them.
Sure.
Some people think that it's like a wormhole or like a portal to another dimension, another world. And some people think it is like demon, Satan type shit. It's kind of interesting now that I think about it. People that are super religious believe in, like, Satan and demons and all this shit.
Yeah.
But, like, cannot fathom aliens or, like, portals to different dimensions. And, like, that's too much for them. But they believe in, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, or, like, if you pray to a saint, they'll help you find your car keys and shit.
Right.
I don't know. Whatever. Do you think it's real?
I think it could be. And after you started telling that story, I feel like I've heard something about a dog being thrown into a hole or something like that. So I think I really want it to be real.
Me too. The problem is, like I said, there are people who dedicate themselves to trying to find it. And in fact, you can hear their stories of, like, their search for it on Reddit if you choose to believe them. You know, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. But there are people saying that they knew they were close because helicopters started following them in the middle of these flatland fields. And they were stopped by, like, an SUV would pull up and say, you're trespassing, turn around type shit.
That's crazy.
So, I don't know. But yeah, that's it. Mel Waters and his mysterious bottomless pit.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep. I'm going to throw shit down it.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's our episode.
75.
You know because you pressed on it. You saw what it said. Don't be mad at the stories we told you. It had it written out. You chose to listen anyway.
It's true.
So that's on you.
This is your fault.
We can't be held accountable for Mel's hole.
But thanks for listening.
And we do love you. And we appreciate you. And cheers to Gigi.
Thanks, y'all.